What's up, y'all? We are back, episode 2 of the Miami Marlins Out of the Park Baseball 25 rebuild playthrough series. We're here just a few days after we left off. We're 27 and 35, and picking up with our first trade of the series, I suppose. Josh Bell, just kind of a dead weight at this point on this team, making $16.5 million last year of his deal. So, you know, we're going to wind up eating 45% of the deal, but it's not a huge problem for us. We're also giving up Christian Betancourt in this trade. This guy, Davis Bradshaw, who has some upside, I think, but another one of these all-contact, no-power type players, which I'm trying to get away from because we have so many of them in the system. And we're going for a little bit more upside here. So the big, I went and shopped around Josh Bell, eating 50% of his deal. And there was a one-for-one trade with this guy, Francisco Villarreal. 17 years old, a ton of work to go to reach his full potential, but some decent upside here. And it's worth taking a flyer on a 17-year-old at this point. Also going to pick up Jahmai Jones, 26-year-old, who can play some center field, good leader, good work ethic, just an overall probably a good guy to have in the clubhouse. Not having a good year in AAA, but he'll probably slot into my major league team pretty quickly. TJ Rumfield, 24-year-old first baseman prospect down in AA, playing pretty well according to WRC+, although his batting average not too pretty at this point. But another guy with decent hitting upside. At worst, he's a career minor leaguer that can help our teams be better. And then Grant Richardson's the last guy. Yeah, a corner outfielder with good speed. Not much upside at the bat, but having a decent year in AA. Well, actually a fantastic year in AA, so we're willing to bank on that. 24 years old. The return's not crazy for him, but we're getting a 17-year-old dart throw, which is more than I'd expect from Josh Bell, playing as horribly as he has played. Negative .7 WAR, 68 WRC+, and overall kind of dragging down our lineup. So, and Christian Betancourt, who's been fine, I guess, but yeah, he's not a long-term piece. So this will be our first trade. We're going to go through with this, and there you go. We are going to sim ahead a little bit farther. I just wanted to take care of that so we can kind of start moving forward with making trades and rebuilding this team at this point. So, the next guy to go, probably one of these relievers. I don't even know if we'll get a huge return, but GT Chargois. Still don't know how to say his name, but yeah, he might be the next guy to go. I think he would have some pretty good value relative to a reliever. Has a couple years of control this year and next year, I'm guessing. Maybe we dip into some of our depth. Like Edward Cabrera hasn't been great. I'm concerned about the control long term, but maybe not the right time to sell on him just because we'd be selling low. Bryson Garrett, another guy we could look at trading, but I'm not in a rush to trade any of our pitching necessarily. As we approach the deadline, we'll look at Luis Ariz, maybe dealing him, but he's a guy I like in this lineup. Jesus Sanchez is probably a long-term piece. He's played pretty well, or at least long-term is in this year and next year. Jazz, he's been fine. I'd like to move him to left field or right field, but maybe we'll have the opportunity to do that at some point. Nick Anderson, I looked around for trades for him. No one's really interested. Not surprising. He's been worth negative .7 WAR himself. 21 WRC+. We'll hope going into the deadline that he starts to pick things up and we can deal him for something. But yeah, we're going to keep moving forward here. Just want to jump in on that trade, and we'll come back probably in a few weeks. All right, so second trade of the season is here. It's June 28th. We're 34 and 47. Really have fallen off, but we're going to get Tim Anderson off the team. I'm just tired of having him here. He's been so bad, and he's clogging up a roster spot we can be given to some young guy who might actually have a future of being a decent player. We're going to flip him 1-for-1 with Colton Gordon. Nothing special here, but could be a good AAA starter for us. There's value in that, I'd say. Keeping your team competitive in AAA. So, yeah, 1-for-1. Nothing crazy. Just kind of getting Anderson off the team. And I do want to put Colton Gordon in AAA. And there we go. Now we have a spot for Jacob Amaya, who I've been wanting to call up. Haven't really had the opportunity. So yeah, we'll make him our everyday shortstop, I think. He's not really built for that long term, but you know, the situation that we're in, I don't really care that much. So we'll throw Amaya out there and see how he does. Push back Nick Gordon's playing time a little bit. He's been bad, like really bad, but he's a leader and stuff, so want to keep him around. But yeah, this is kind of our lineup right now. It's not pretty by any means, but at least we have a lot of young guys in here, and you know, Xavier Edwards is getting regular playing time now. That's good, even though he hasn't been any good. But you know, he's a player we can look at long term. We just have no pop at all. You know, Jazz is pretty much the only dude here who has any sort of power. Jesus Sanchez, I should stop sleeping on him because he's actually had a good year. And Brian De La Cruz also had a good year, but he doesn't really provide any power either. So yeah, I mean, this is the team. Luis Ariz also has really turned it on. You know, actually hitting extra base hits once in a while, not just singles. So yeah, he's had a nice little run here. Avisail Garcia's still been solid. We did call Will Banfield to be our catcher after the trade of Betancourt. So, yeah, he's only gotten a little bit of run here, but, you know, we'll see how he does. Hopefully it could be a short-term piece to bridge the gap between maybe a better catching prospect. And then we did move Edward Cabrera to the bullpen. The walks were just becoming too much. He was just, you know, not getting deep into games, really. And I think his stuff actually plays pretty well in a bullpen role, so we'll stick him there for a little bit. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, Trevor Rogers came back from injury, which is what pushed him to the bullpen. So yeah, this is a pretty good rotation right here, I'd say. We just got to get guys performing a little bit better. I'm going to start pushing Luzardo and Puck a little bit more, as well as Yuri, who, after a bunch of really good starts to begin the year, had two really, really bad starts to push his ERA from 0.66 to 4.11. I think he had 5 runs last start. None of them earned, but, you know, it's hasn't been as good in the last 3 as they were in the first 5 starts for Yuri, but, you know, he's still going to be a beast. Not worried about that at all, and, you know, hopefully him and Luzardo can frontline this rotation. There's a reason that they're in the thumbnail, because they're the guys that, you know, are going to push this team to relevancy. AJ Puck will too, probably to a lesser extent though. You know, he's actually having the best year of the 3, but you know, I guess Yuri would be, but he hasn't been on the team all year. Anyway, gonna stop rambling. We'll keep moving forward. It's June 28th, so the draft is coming up, so we'll update at that point. All right, so unfortunately for us, despite being so bad this season, we will have the 16th pick because the 2023 Marlins are actually pretty decent. So yeah, Guardians will be number 1, and we'll start the draft. Fortunately for us, this isn't necessarily like the best draft in the world, although it does look like there's some decent players. So a lot of high school arms, it looks like. This college arm looks decent. We're not really looking for pitchers, though. I know you don't draft for need, but this farm system needs some decent bats. So yeah, we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to the picked, but first pick, Charlie Condon. Condon? I am not a draft guy, so I don't know these guys, but I think he actually is projected to be number 1. I mean, look at the frame, 6'6", 215. He's like a slender, honestly, with this build, like prime Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much Giancarlo Stanton back in 2017. Sweet pick. If he works out, of course. J.J. Weatherholt, not much of a defender, but a really good bat. Just want to go through the top 5. Travis Bazana, I do recognize this name. From the little that I know of baseball draft. Tommy White, also recognize that name from last year's game and from this, you know, actually draft stuff. And Connor Griffin, another guy, recognized very well from last year's game. So, we're on to our pick. Maybe we just just go through this. Obviously, I'm a sucker for these high school arms. I always bank on the potential, but they rarely ever work out. So, a first-round pick, I don't really want to dump that into that. Malcolm Moore's intriguing, but the defense isn't really good enough to... I mean, would I put him at catcher if he turned out to have that bat? Absolutely, but a lot would have to work out well. This guy's got a little bit of pitching, too. TP Wentworth. Good all-around player, but we'll see. Hagen Smith, high floor guy. Love me some Hagen Smith. Minnesota Twins out of the park baseball 24 legend for us. I don't know if we got far enough in that save to really show how good he was over a few years, but he wound up being a really good player. Ryan Johnson, another high floor guy. Matt Agger, same story. So yeah, a lot of good pitching, which is unfortunate for us. We would love to grab a good hitter here. Conrad Kaysen. 17 years old, ton of bust potential, but I'd like to stay away from this build, especially with this team that we have. This is like a souped-up version of Luis Ariz. Maybe a little less hitting potential, a little more power, but can play some infield, which is good, and he has some pitching ratings here, which actually looks like a pretty good arm. So yeah, Conrad's a guy I would definitely consider here. Plays a valuable position as well, which is something that I do wind up prioritizing a lot in this game and in this draft, which is position versatility. Just the ability to be able to move guys around. It always comes in handy. And maybe I go for lower upside guys just because they do play more valuable positions, which sometimes does hurt me because you don't always wind up with the best players overall, but you wind up with a good team. Michael Torres, another interesting guy. But, again, that build that I'm trying to stay away from, and I'm going to have to keep telling myself that because it's not something I would normally do. Okay, I'm going to go off camera and do this because this is going to take forever to sort through these guys, and I don't really see a ton that I love, so we'll be back when we kind of have a pick in mind, or a couple guys narrowed down. Alright, so I have it narrowed down, and I've kind of realized that the strength of this class is the pitching, and I'm not going to reach on a hitter just because we need a hitter immediately, and, the guy I would probably take is not Cade Brown, Conrad Carson, who's a 17-year-old who probably won't be in the majors for another 4 seasons minimum. So I'm not going to reach on a hitter just because we need hitting. Malcolm Moore was another guy I was really considering. Even if he doesn't stick at catcher, I would play him at first base. But, again, where's the value here? The value is with the pitching. It really comes down to 3 guys in my mind. Jason Flores, top of the class, is the 85 stuff potential. My concern with him and why I'm not going to take him here. First of all, 50 stamina. It's definitely fine, but with a 3-pitch guy, the 50, I don't know. This looks like it could just be a high-end reliever. I have a thing for these. For me to be a starter and for me to draft you in the first round, you either need to be like a tick better than this with 3 pitches or have 4 pitches, which is where we come to Hagen Smith. And I'm not going to take him either because the 45 control potential, it's fine. It'll play, but this looks a lot like Edward Cabrera, who kind of had walk issues and hasn't been able to make it as a starter this season. Also, I took him in the Padres series that we just had to finish up, so kind of want to keep things fresh. So we're not going to take Hagen Smith here either. And that in mind, I think I'm going to take Duncan Marston. Kind of similar upside to Jason Flores, but has an additional pitch, 60 stamina, good enough personality. It's not going to hurt you. And, maybe a tick less stuff, but the 4 pitches, I think, will make him a more reliable starter long term. He does have a pretty significant bonus demand, which we're able to meet at this point. And even if we weren't, we can make salary room. So yeah, I'm going to take Duncan Marston. Again, it's kind of A little bit redundant to go after pitching here, even though we have a bunch of pitchers, but I'm not going to reach on a hitter just because we need one. And I like 4-pitch guys, so Duncan Marson will be our first pick. You know, these high school pitchers, always very risky, but I think he's well enough developed that I think he can make it. So we're going to meet his demand and go to the next pick. So Jason Flores is still there. I mean, it might be worth taking a flyer second round, but and also Conrad Carson's still here. A guy with a low demand. A guy I would have considered in the first round. And we also have a pick coming up. This is round 2, pick 18. And we have pick 32. So we have to wait 15 picks, 14 picks after this, whatever that comes out to. You know, Jason Flores is really intriguing. But, again, I have my concerns about that. And I think it's Conrad Carson's good value here as a hitter. We do need hitters in our system. It's not like we don't. So, yeah, we're going to take Conrad Carson here. Again, a guy I was looking at in the first round. And, you know, if Jason Flores is there at pick 32, I'll take him. And look at that. He is. Just want to make sure there's no one else. Nolan Traeger was a guy that I liked. You know, he could stick at catcher, has upside, but he's a young guy. And we just took a high school bat. You know, there wasn't a ton else for hitters that I liked. Michael Torres was a guy I was considering, but doesn't really have the outfield range to play center field. And this is much more of a center field profile, not a corner outfielder. You know, I guess it's worth looking through these guys again. Demetri is an interesting player, but I don't know if the value is good enough to take him second round. Still getting over illness. I'm not sure what it was, but if I sound a little stuffed up, that's why. Probably only a second baseman, but Drew Dickerson's an interesting player. Rodney Green has some power upside, but I don't know if the contact avoid Ks is necessarily going to play. He does have high work ethic intelligence, though. So he's intriguing, but not at this pick. Carter Johnson, also interesting, but Dante Nori, nice player, but maybe it's like a 4th-round pick type. Yeah, this is Luis Ariz. Or not even. He doesn't even have the power. Nice player, though, for sure. Cody Schreier, another guy I liked in last year's game. Really, really interesting build there. Good all-around player. Another, you know, I don't know if he's going to necessarily make to the majors with the contact. All right, so, yeah, I think Jason Flores is probably the pick here. The upside is just too intriguing for a late second-round pick to not go with him. So, sure, there's no college arms out here that I like any better. He's all right. Really good stamina here, but 3-pitch guy. Matt Ager actually does intrigue me quite a bit. Higher floor, but is it really that much more high of a floor than Flores? I don't know. He does have 4 pitches, which I like a little bit more than Flores, but you know, it's worth taking a flyer here on the high upside player. So we'll take him. And Matt Ager falls to the 3rd round here. So I'm going to take him as well. I've kind of gotten a good lay of the land of all the players that I wanted early. And then is there anyone else here? Carter Johnson was the guy that I liked. Did not mean to click on him again. Rodney Green, yeah, I don't think he's going to be a player. All right, so yeah, I think What's his name? Carter Johnson. Yeah, not enough power. He's just going to be a singles machine, which is fine in a certain role. But yeah, Carter Johnson, I think, will be the pick here. Probably only a second baseman. Does he have any outfield? Yeah, he could play some corner outfield, so maybe a super utility man in his future. But good enough upside where I would actually be cool with him in that role. Again, he's 18 years old, so ton of bust potential. He's also impossible, so never mind. We're not drafting him. I mean, do we go with another pitcher here? Not this guy. The 20 control freaks me out. Looking for a 4-pitch pitcher. Kyle DeGroat. Not bad. Strikeout through it's 87 to 89. We're a throwback pitcher there. This guy has no stuff currently. Not enough stamina to stick as a starter for me. A lot of good arms, though, man. I mean, if you're a guy who likes 3-pitch pitchers, this is the draft for you. Not necessarily up my alley, though. Man, I mean, there's like 50 pitchers deep here from the beginning of the draft. Holy crap. That's tough. That's tough. Go to all players again. Cade Brown, he's just not going to stick anywhere defensively. Same story with him. I mean, Ethan Tavares, yeah, he doesn't have a defensive home either. Game's certainly smart when they know guys who don't play valuable positions. Sam Erickson might actually be the pick here. Corner outfielder, but I think this bat can kind of play. At worst, he'll be like a 4th, 5th outfielder type. If he reaches that potential, of course, which is always a concern. But, you know, we can go with a higher upside like Rodney Green, who could just be a total power bat. Obviously concerning, but maybe we send him to the development lab, work on his avoid Ks. You know, the BABIP's good enough where I think if we get this avoid Ks up to a 45, the contact shoots up to a 45-50. He could be a legit player. Yeah, you know what? Let's roll the dice with that and make that kind of our plan. So Rodney Green will take him in the 4th round. Sorry, I'm just going back. Yeah, good speed too. Yeah, I like that pick. And then Kyle DeGroat, bad personality, kind of turns me off to him a bit. Maybe we just roll the dice with a high upside pitcher. There's so many of them. It's tough to go wrong. Honestly, Dominic Fritton. He's got to work on the control a bit. He's 21. Fastball, curveball, changeup. Decent arsenal. 45 stamina. I mean, do we just go with a good hitter? I don't know. It's like totally against what I'm usually about in these drafts. And going for positional value. Soft hitting second baseman. That's a Demarion Terrell. Good power. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Maybe he emerges as a good player. So yeah, we'll end the on-camera version of the draft here. We only have about $1 million to spend, so I have to be kind of careful with the rest of the budget room. But yeah, pretty successful first 5 rounds. We'll come back and update with how the rest of the draft goes. Okay, so we are back. End of the draft. We'll kind of go through, honestly, all 20 picks. I'm pretty happy with what we got for value. So we'll go through all of these. I think we went through the first 5 rounds. Yeah, we went through Terrell on the last check-in. So Sam Erickson, kind of a guy I overlooked early in the draft. I'm recording this a few days after I initially started this. Came back, and I don't really know why I was so low on him. I mean, yeah, he's a corner outfielder, decent speed, but the bat upside's pretty good for a 6th-round pick. So we wound up taking him in the 6th round. I still have to get these pictures uploaded. I'll probably do that after this episode. Dominic Fritton, a pretty good floor arm here. I don't know if he's a starter long term with the 45 stamina, suspect control, but I kind of picture him as like a really good stopper type. This is his ratings as a starter. I wonder if he even ticks up as a reliever. Yeah, quite significantly with the stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of the vision I had with him when I took him with this pick. A really good stopper, maybe long term. So, or maybe he's a starter. Who knows? We'll see with that. And Henry Allen, a guy. The bat was just too good to pass up at this point, even if he doesn't really have a defensive home besides first base. Yeah, it's just good value at that point in the 8th round. Cade Brown, pretty much the same story, just a good bat, not really defensive home. We'll see what happens with those guys long term. You don't want to have too many of those guys in the system, but with mid-round picks, it's good value, I think. Andrew Armstrong, not the most flashy pick. He's a 88 to 89 sidearm pitcher, but has some good control. And maybe he's like a long man in the future. Not bad at that pick. Nate George, good defensive player, really good personality, good speed, and not a horrible bat. So maybe he's a 4th outfielder in the future, 5th outfielder. Pierce George, a guy I took in our San Diego series as well, and a guy who I've had in Out of the Park Baseball 24 before. He never really had this upside in that game. He was more of like a 50s across the board type of player, but yeah, this is a really good reliever, and they already have him in the bullpen. I love that. 98 to 100, good personality. The stamina can definitely play as like a stopper, multi-inning reliever. Has a couple good pitches. The changeup might come along. We'll see about that, but really excited for Pierce George. Ryan Campos, a decent defensive catcher, but good personality is the reason I took him. Maybe all this can tick up, Maybe we can get this up to like 55s, 60s. That'd be awesome. Maybe throw him in the lab, but he's already 21. Good depth to have in the minor league system with a decent bat upside. Maybe like a 3rd catcher down the line where he's kind of up and down AAA with injuries. Then Adrian Jimenez, a good defensive player, has a little bit of upside at the bat. We'll see if he ever reaches that. He's 18 years old, a good work ethic. Corey Collins, gonna move him off of catcher immediately. I don't really know where he'd play in that in my minor league system. I'll probably promote him to A-ball. I'll do all the promotions after, but good power upside, good eye. The contact, maybe he's never a major league player, but could be good minor league depth. Jackson Sanders, just too much upside here with the 16th round pick to not throw a dart at him. We'll see if he develops. Carson Dorsey, a little bit of a higher floor guy, but doesn't throw very hard. The stamina is suspect. Has the work ethic or the intelligence issues, but has a high work ethic, high floor. Career minor leaguer maybe, but good guy to have in the system. Again, Grant Hussey, completely banking on the power there. And Joe Burini, good defensive player, and that's about it. So, really liked all of our 20 picks. I think that could be a franchise-altering draft, potentially. Of course, the MLB draft is like the most inexact science of a draft you could ever possibly have. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So, we're going to end the episode here. Next time, we'll go through the trade deadline, start shipping off some guys, and kind of making this team our own. So, we'll be back and go over that next time. So, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.